The BlokeBusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fantastic podcasts, such as Pencil and Ink Review, Another Damn Trivia Show, and The Language of Bromance at podbros.com, as well as on most other fine podcasting services. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to share and enjoy the BlokeBusters podcast.
Welcome to episode 79 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian.
And this time we are going to be talking about Doctor Strange, the newest Marvel Cinematic Universe entry.
Phase 3, right? Chapter
I believe so. Yes, I
think.
I would have to go look at that infographic that they released a while ago.
Yeah.
Yes, so first off though, do get a hold of us on Twitter at BlokeBusters, facebook.com/BlokeBusters. I want to say I promise I'll be better with that, but I can't at this point. For those of you that listened to the previous one, or didn't listen to the previous one, yes, I now have a baby in the house, and therefore time on the computer sorting all of these things out is dramatically reduced.
The priority is to teach the baby to edit.
Yes.
And then all sorts of time will be open to you.
I'll get even a special little chair so I can just have the little baby at there.
Or just a little editing bay, she'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, we are on Instagram, kind of, and at BlokeBusters. You can email us, blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com if you want to do long form there. And we have a website, blokebusters.webs.com. Again, I will try and keep that updated as best I can.
Currently not on LinkedIn.
Yes, no.
And I think that will remain the same. We have no plans for being LinkedIn.
No. Yes, unfortunately, I don't think we're quite business savvy enough to really get that sorted.
Or Tumblr. I don't think we tumble.
No, yes, we are not the tumbling people.
Okay.
I guess I'll start with the nuts and bolts and then we'll figure out what this film is about. So, directed by Scott Derrickson, who has done horror. Pretty much exclusively.
Yes.
So, interesting choice. And a budget of $165 million. At the very least, that is the production budget. Can't speak
crazy
for
high budget.
Can't speak for advertising and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think that Marvel probably has its own advertising budget entirely separate of all the production budgets.
No, yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all.
And a box office worldwide, and this is interesting to note because it has been out in America for 3 days out of this point, and yet it has been out in most of the rest of Europe for at least a week and a half, I think. So it's had more time overseas, and it is roughly $325,389,000. So it has done relatively well, and I'm sure will continue to do so.
Yes.
So, what is this film about then, Brian?
What is this film about? Okay, well, I had a little nugget, a surprise nugget I want to get into in a moment. But before that, a former neurosurgeon embarks on a journey of healing only to be drawn into the world of the mystic arts. A very on-the-surface kind of description of happenings.
I would also point out that he is not exclusively a neurosurgeon, I think. He doesn't just deal with the brain, he passed on working on someone's spine because he felt there was absolutely no way it would be of any use. So he's just a very gifted
I don't know
surgeon.
how medically accurate that is that you're going to do neurosurgery and also...
I mean, definitely a consult, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Definitely consult on that, but
yes, the best or whatever.
Yes, he is a fantastic. He is the Sherlock of the doctors.
Yes. Not the Khan of the doctors.
Not the Khan, because he is not so advanced that he has the technology to fix it at a whim. At least at the beginning of the film. But yes, I would say definitely one of the things I do feel a little sorry for with Benedict Cumberbatch in that he will continue to play roles like this for some time, I feel.
Yeah.
And particularly this one as well.
But it's roles like The Imitation Game that give me hope.
Yes, definitely. He was so good. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes, we all love Buttersquash Cucumber. That is my newest name for him. But were you aware, sir, that this was a 1978 TV movie?
I think I'd heard that there was a previous iteration of some kind, but...
Yes, I had to look into this because I was fascinated. In this, he was a psychiatrist. Becomes the new sorcerer supreme of the earth and has to battle an evil sorceress from the past, whatever. But it features Jessica Walter. Archer fans, you know who Jessica Walter is.
Yes.
Yes, Archer. That's how you get ants. And also Clyde Kusatsu, who is Admiral Nakamura from Next Gen. So there's a little Star Trek connection there.
Just a little?
Yeah. So that was like 6-7 years or something he played that. But yes, and the titular role played by Peter Hooton, who I have no idea who that is.
He's Hooton.
Hooton. You heard me.
I like that name.
Hooton.
That's a good name.
Anyway, check that out if you're so inclined. Let us know how it is, if it's worth our time.
I do think I wouldn't mind watching it.
But anyway, back to this movie. At hand. We want to run through the real quick starring players.
Well,
here.
obviously we've mentioned Mr. Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, and we've got Chiwetel Ejiofor as Carl Mordo.
Pronunciation.
Thank you. Yes, I've been practicing again.
Yes.
Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer. Benedict
Benedict,
as Wong.
Yes, we got creative there.
Yes,
one of our favorite characters from The Martian, probably.
Yes,
if I can speak for Paul.
Although I did find it a little strange that he possibly the only really important Asian character in the entire film is just called Wong. It's a little.
That is the character, right?
It is the character.
Isn't that the name? Yeah,
that is the name of the character. However. They could have just made him one of the other Asian characters from it.
We'll get into the casting, hopefully in just a moment. But
so
who do you got next?
It's got Mads Mikkelsen as Caecilius. And for those of you that want to know how that is spelled, that is Kaecilius. And I swear they changed the pronunciation at some point in the film. But I couldn't be bothered to look up any other way of saying it.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the wonderful Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that don't know, in the comics, the Ancient One is male.
And a very old, elderly man.
He
I guess we can
has
get
lived
into this
for
right
so
now.
long, yes.
Yeah.
I can't speak for you, but I couldn't give a shit if it was male or female in the comics, because I thought that, and I know this is kind of going somewhat counter to my argument against, say, Scarlett Johansson as the Major in the Ghost in the Shell film, but yeah, I felt that as long as they're able to give a good performance, then it doesn't matter if they're male or female. That's just be a good Ancient One, and I thought she did quite well.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just get into this right now because I knew when the casting or when it was revealed that she was the Ancient One, there was a lot of public outcry, as is the norm now.
Sort of
not just because of the male to female, whatever, but the so-called whitewashing. Yes, exactly, of Hollywood. And Marvel Studios did put out a response, which I thought was well worded and very well thought out, as saying they always, essentially strive for diversity and things like that, and they viewed the Ancient One as a title, Dread Pirate Robert style, not so much as a particular person. And this film does have quite a lot of diversity in it.
Yes.
And Chiwetel and Wong and, so forth. And I'm happy to see one of the most amazing actresses, or actors, in this role, and to have a strong female in that lead. So I really had no issue with it.
I thought she did really well in it. I mean, I've always felt, ever since the very first time I ever saw her in something, which was actually Constantine, where she plays, I believe it's the Archangel Michael. And I may be wrong, but yeah, ever since I first saw her, I just kind of felt she was one of those people that was just sort of had that off look to her, like
certainly
just a little
extremely unique. Yeah.
Yes, and so it's definitely kind of fun to see her really give off some good performances.
Have you seen Hail Caesar yet?
I have not, and
she
also
is fantastic in that. Even though I wasn't an overall great fan of that film,
right?
I loved her in it. Yeah,
yeah.
And what's the train? Why am I blanking? With Chris Pine. What is it? I'm completely blanking on the title.
I know what you're talking about.
The saddest thing is the babies taste the best. There are some weird lines in that movie. God fucking damn it, what's the name of that goddamn movie?
I know. It's one word as well. Right on Snowpiercer.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll say my favourite role of hers...
Staved off the aneurysm for a moment.
Yeah, my favourite role of hers up till now is probably in Moonrise Kingdom. Because just fantastic social services there. Yeah. But yes, this was... just really well done.
Did you? Do you have any other on the cast list? I had one more name.
There's a couple on here, but they're not too big characters. Michael Stuhlbarg.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to mention him. I love him
as Nicodemus West.
Dr. West. Yeah.
Yes. A really interesting name.
Boardwalk Empire fans will know him as Rothstein. He was incredible on that show as Rothstein.
He plays a rival surgeon.
Yeah. I really like him as an actor. I think he's a more intellectual Joaquin.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that's a fair criticism, but I don't know. More cerebral, perhaps. I don't know.
And the only other name I have is Benedict Cumberbatch as Dormammu as well. So, yes, he played a dual role in this, kind of like he did in the Hobbit films. Because he was both, obviously, Smaug and Sauron in the Hobbit films. And for those of you that are like, Sauron? Who was he in the Hobbit film? He was the really shadowy guy that was like the Wraith King-like thing that you kind of saw in the weird white dark shadow realm thing that Galadriel wards off. That actually is Sauron, but he's known as the Necromancer in that time period. And yes, that's enough. That's enough geeking about Tolkien. How about we get into the Doctor Strange world?
Yeah. Any particular jumping off points you'd like to go into, or?
Well, so can we just say that this film is aptly named?
Yeah. I was so close. I didn't want to tip it. As is, if we got to assume at some point, yes, this might be someone's first episode. So, yes, we talk about spoilers. Another big thing to mention is that Paul and I don't really discuss the film until we start recording.
Yes.
On rare instances, we might somewhat give kind of a short text, that kind of points a direction in how we're feeling.
Yes.
The one I really wanted to send you after I saw it yesterday was, after I saw it. And I thought, and I was gonna put just a clue to my review.
Fair enough.
So, is where I am right now.
Well, now, I will say that people might say I've led a boring life. I have never had any form of drug outside of, medically given in a hospital type situation. And for those of you that say, well, alcohol's a drug, I don't really drink that much either. So,
have yourself a cider once a month.
No, so if we need to go in for no psychedelics, no anything like that,
boring.
Yes, get off the stage.
Boom. You suck.
Right, yes, and it's not necessarily through any, I think all drugs are bad. It's just, never had...
Not for you.
Yes, I've never felt the need, and also never been around someone saying, hey, do you want to do some drugs?
He's pleasant enough on his own, folks.
Yes, my charming personality.
No chemical enhancement.
Yes, I get by purely on my looks and personality alone.
And those are in spades. Both, folks.
Yes, little teeny tiny ones that you get on the beach with the bucket.
Yes.
So I have never been under the influence of any of those.
But
and watching this film,
I'm guessing where you're going with this.
Yes, there's about a 2.5 minute long sequence where I'm fairly certain that I'd never need to take LSD in my life, because you've got bits where Benedict Cumberbatch's hand, you see his fingers, which are growing hands, and then the fingers on those are growing hands, and it's just turning into fractals and so. And I'm a very visual guy when it comes to these things. Anyone that has listened to many episodes of this will know at this point. And yeah, I can understand why someone would be overwhelmed by this film, because there's so many cool visuals, and anyone that hasn't heard this yet or whatever, Christopher Nolan read the original Doctor Strange comics and got inspiration to make Inception. And those people watching this film...
You're spoiling my Inception notes, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, people watching this film, not knowing that, might go, they ripped off Inception. Nope. So, other way around, I'm afraid. So you're just now seeing this version of it.
Yes, chronologically, yes, that is how the films came out, but... Yeah.
It was trippy.
To say the least, yeah.
And I had no issue with it, with the exception of the fact that I think some people would say that scene went on way too long, but obviously while that whole thing's going on, you get that narration from the Ancient One, and also a little bit of just story building in there. So as the film went on, I realised just how important that whole thing was. So I kind of came more around to it.
I'm wondering, and I'm jumping ahead just in terms of the podcast, I'm jumping ahead, if I should recuse myself from rating this, because I think it warrants a second watch.
Okay. Well,
I will give a rating, don't worry, but I just want to give that kind of caveat out there.
Okay.
That I don't know if I fully understand everything enough to give a rating.
Okay.
But I will do my best when that time comes.
Alright, well that actually kind of leans into then something that I felt was really cool and that I really enjoyed, which is that this film isn't just a regular Marvel action film.
No.
This film really took pains to build this world and to really give you everything you need for any future Doctor Strange appearances, and also setting up, because Doctor Strange doesn't believe, as you may have heard in the trailer, doesn't believe in chakras or fairy tales about blah blah blah. And this film went to great pains to show you that he's wrong. And it wasn't one of those things where it says, no, obviously this is all real. It's just the idea that the reality that you know might not necessarily be all there is, which I'm a big fan of, like, it's kind of multiverse theory and things like that. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that they didn't, for the most part, dumb everything down. They just put it out there. Like, this is Doctor Strange. This is what happens in Doctor Strange. So I was a little worried going in that they might kind of just gloss over some of the things. They might just kind of make it easier for everyone to watch. And obviously there's a lot of the Marvel staple in there of like the jokes that undercut the tension and things like that. But it was so well done. And I applaud them for using the story well in this one.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, to that, for his highly skeptical, meaning Doctor Strange, of course, character, for someone that, science is king, science is everything, didn't you find he
he
jumped on board very quickly.
Very quickly with the Ancient One. He's like, no, what did you put in the tea? Okay, I'm tripping balls right now. Whatever's happening. And then, show me one more time. Okay, what do I need to do to get involved in this? Yeah. Like, really on board immediately. Yeah. How skeptical are you if you're going to fold that easily? The LSD theory doesn't apply to the second experience, where he's floating around in space or whatever? Yeah.
I believe that what's happening, what we're seeing is, he's reached his end point. Like, he wants Steve's hand to be back to where they were. He's met this guy that is walking and it's not possible. Like, he should not be able to walk under any circumstances, and here he is playing basketball. And so this guy says, this is where you go. Like, you may not like it, this is where you need to go. And he goes there, and he is very skeptical, like, I don't believe in this, that and the other. And then he ends up going on this thing, and I think that just going through it and finally seeing something that pushes what he believes in, I think it's enough for him to be like, this might work, and I'm willing to do it. And I did like that you saw the trailer moment of him just going, teach me, and it was just
teach me.
It was just no. Out you go. On break.
And then cue, I'm sorry, but it's one of my least favorite tropes in films. The waiting outside the door until they let you in trope. Yeah. I hate it. There's no way around it. I hate it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It really bugged me.
I mean, I get it, because obviously...
Like Richard Gere, I got nowhere else to go. Although that sounded more like Chris Farley.
I was actually going to say, was it not?
I'm starving here. Anyway, yeah. But yes, you're right. I mean, there really is no other course of action for the narrative to take at that point.
Yes, because if she had just said yes, then it wouldn't quite have worked, especially given what we end up learning about the Ancient One.
Yes, it's just a matter of fact that I hate that trope, and yes, I know they had to use it, pretty much. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of ways around it. But
yeah, I ended up watching this with my dad, and when we came out of it, he was saying that he found it very formulaic, and it's like, it is a Marvel film. There's a formula.
They do follow the formula. Yes, funny side story. Paul and his dad and I actually bumped into each other in the theater parking lot.
Yes,
no plans, no talks of what time we were seeing these shows.
No, yeah, I'm driving my dad down there, and it's like, we're seeing this one. And so I just turned left into the car park. I was like, that's Brian.
That's Brian's car. Yes.
But yeah, so that was a little randomness.
Yeah.
A little something strange before the film.
Yeah, not quite ready to reveal that I saw it a little differently than you, but I did want to get into, overall, I mean, might be a silly question, but Benedict's Cumberbatch, that is, not Wong. His performance did, as far as him being in a Marvel film and what we're used to seeing from him, were you happy with the performance? Do you think it was lacking in anything? Was it better than you were expecting?
The only annoying thing I had watching it, and I understood why it was there, but I still found it annoying because of who Benedict Cumberbatch is and what we know about him. That accent. Why did he have to have that accent?
Why did he have to have that accent?
I mean, fair enough. The character is American. I get it. He lives and works in New York. I get it. But I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch should have been made to do the accent, especially since there were a couple of times where it kind of wanes a little bit as he's going through some of his sentences, or it comes in a bit too heavy as he's doing it. Especially the trailer moment of the chakras. It's like, a little heavy-handed there. But aside from that, I felt he did, and this isn't just because we really like Benedict Cumberbatch. I felt he did a really good job at portraying this guy who is having to completely change everything. He's in this world that, as far as he knew, and as far as he believed, couldn't exist. And now he's living entirely in that. And then I think one of my favourite interplays in the entire film is between him and his cape. Like, I enjoyed, and those of you that maybe have seen the film but don't know anything about the comics or anything like that, Doctor Strange has this cape, which is a cape of levitation.
Which is sentient.
Yes, it is sentient. Not shown in the film, but it is capable of letting the user fly at up to 25 miles an hour. I don't know.
Very,
I don't know why the limitation there. just trying to catch up to a speeding car and you can't quite do it. Like, hello, excuse me.
It's a very acceptable, normal range. Let's not go crazy with things. 25.
Yeah.
Let's keep things safe in the suburbs, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, so at least if he bumps into someone, he doesn't kill them. He just breaks a leg or something. But yeah, so yeah, it is sentient. It is capable of deflecting a fair number of attacks, and also later in the comics, it is capable of acting out its owner's will, even when not with its owner. Mm-hmm. So I think that one takes a little bit of time to do. So obviously that doesn't happen in the film.
Yeah,
but I felt that the interplay between that was a good way of also showing him coming to accept his powers, because right at the beginning when he's using his powers during his first fight, and then he ends up getting the cape and he is struggling with the cape, fighting against it, and then once he's kind of come to understand a bit more and come to realize this is what he needs to do, and then him and the cape are much more in sync. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a nice kind of visual thing there, and a nice way of getting that across, as well as just showing him growing.
I had a different take on the cape. I thought it was used
goofy?
As... Well, a little goofy, a little cheesy, and just too used as a panacea. Just making up, or just compensating for his lack of knowledge or abilities at that time. And just any dangerous situation was immediately resolved by the cape. And that happened multiple times in that second act.
I can...
Yeah, so, the cape's gonna save the day. It's a cape. But, I mean, the one good bit, I guess, he's really trying to go one direction, and the cape really wants to go the other direction.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get this thing. No, you want it.
It did get it almost to the Family Guy level of, they're really playing this joke too long.
It's 3 or 4 times, right?
Yeah, and they're like, it's like, that rule of funny, like, it was, we're kind of going past the 3 here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm just distracted by my iTunes screensaver because there were 3 copies of Sully up there, and now they're just. But I don't know why there are multiple copies. So you can cut this out, or leave it in, whatever you want to do.
No, I think I'm going to leave it in.
But I'm very fast. There were 3. Where are the train spotting? Like, why do they have 3 copies of Sully there? I don't. That was very.
Maybe they really want you to watch Sully. I don't know.
Okay, no, okay, I'm good. Sorry, Tom Hanks, but I'm
right.
good on that one. Back to Dr. And we're back.
Yes.
Doctor Strange. Anywho, so that was Benedict. Rachel McAdams I would like to talk about briefly.
Okay.
She is pretty much the Lois a la BVS in this.
I can see that.
I mean, I'm really, yes, we had Tilda in this, but I'm kind of sick. Yes, I admit, I am not familiar with the comics, so I don't know how true these performances or relationships are true or to that source material.
Well, I can tell you right now that they are not a couple in the comics.
Okay. But why are you going to get a big name actress like her? And I'm not always a fan of hers. Yeah, she does a lot of the rom-coms or whatever. But I do think she is a very capable actress. And I feel like she was so underutilized in this. There's just a couple handful of scenes. I wanted to see, if you're going to hint at a relationship between them, show me more. Otherwise, just keep it professional, or we had something in the past, but for them to have this interest in each other and then just so haphazardly explored,
I suppose
I don't know. I wanted more scenes with her Other than just the bit jokes of him coming in shot or bringing someone, or stabbed, or bringing someone else in that was stabbed. Yeah. I just didn't, I don't know. Yeah, I just wasn't happy with what I was given there.
Well, to link it to Sherlock, actually, I kind of felt like she was almost the Molly Hooper of this film, where it's just, she turned up when she was required. Or something.
Yeah, that's probably a better depiction there, better parallel.
Yeah, and at the very least, like, Molly Hooper is fleshed out over the show, and again,
and to be fair, she has multiple episodes to be fleshed out in.
Yeah, so maybe what'll happen is she'll come more into her own in future, but the problem is, I can't see where they would make room for her.
See, like, even I think like Pepper Potts was more well developed than.
No, definitely. Well, she was also a stronger character, stronger person.
Yes, and yes, it true had more of a
central role.
Yeah, central role and more of a responsibility to Tony. Yeah, what am I saying? Transformation or whatever. Just she was a little more closely involved, but
and she seemed to exist only to have Benedict Cumberbatch end up needing someone to apologize to and to say the things that he ends up realizing are true, even though at the time he didn't believe it. Like, she literally, I think she's almost a MacGuffin in this. Oh, she's not the MacGuffin, but she's a MacGuffin, which leads to transformation. That's about it. It was a shame that someone of her extensive acting chops ends up in a bit role. Like,
it was really kind of a newcomer's type of role.
Yeah, I would have. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head because it's been a while since I've seen it. But the geeky girl from the first Thor.
Kat Dennings.
I think so. Yeah.
So obviously not Natalie Portman, but Kat Dennings. Yeah.
Yes, I consider Kat Dennings' character to be a bit more geeky than.
Yes.
Almost that kind of level of just like, why don't we just like get someone in? They'll turn up again later, I think I would say that probably one of the biggest missteps of this film is a couple of the characters kind of fall by the wayside.
They did try to introduce a lot, which I'm trying to limit the BVS comparisons, but where so much was thrown at you for what is essentially an origin story here. Yeah. I wanted to get to one of my main criticisms. The names, they are so, as the title suggests, strange. They come so quickly and with zero to little introduction of who these people are. Almost like, and certainly this is much better than X-Men Apocalypse, but much in the way where characters are just kind of, okay, this is this character, or ignore that, we're just going to go on to another part of the story now. Yeah. I think haphazardly and just kind of rampantly introduced, and just not easy names to kind of get hold of. You have Caecilius, and what was the other Benedict Cumberbatch role?
Dormammu.
Dormammu, Mordo. Now, it took me half the movie to figure out Chiwetel was Mordo. Who the fuck's Mordo? Yeah. You keep talking about him when he's not in the room. Mordo.
I was saying, I haven't seen.
What it hurts to say, I don't need a literal, hey, this is Mordo, everybody. But, Mordo, come here. Something like that.
All the monks have a name tag. Hi, my name is...
That would have been helpful. I don't hate the idea, Paul. But I don't know, did you have any of that issue kind of following the narrative with that context of... if you're not familiar with the material, if you haven't read the comics, it's a lot to take in. And
it definitely is, and there were a couple of times where I was like, okay, what was his name again?
Yeah.
But I did feel like I wasn't too lost, and I don't know if it speaks to what I'm like as a person as well, but I didn't feel like I necessarily needed to remember the character's name most of the time, like especially the main bad guy. And I'm blanking on it right now, but I didn't need to remember his name because they say it so often in the film that is and the second they say it, you say, oh yeah, that's him. But so I was just more focused on where the plot was going and how they were using some of the stuff in it. Like I kind of want to talk about just for a second the use of technically time travel in this film. I mean, definitely the use of time bending. I would say more than time travel, but I thought that was fantastic. Like you have him being able to rewind time. To start with, it's with an object, because he does it with an apple and then he does it with the page of a book, and you find out what he's doing is actually kind of altering the past rather than going back in time, because he's creating an alternate timeline which is kind of forbidden to mess with the exception of just that great line from Wong where he realizes what's going on and he's kind of rewind time. Like, yes, I know. Look, Lord of the Universe and all that, and he just goes, well, don't stop now.
It's been working for us, so let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, it was just one of those things, when he said that line, I was just like, I think he realizes, like, well, you're already doing it. Like, why not save everyone while you're doing it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really cool premise that they did, and at the end of the film, they're using the rewind to undo the breaking of the seal that brought Dormammu to this realm, as it's called, and then him creating the time loop, I thought was one of the best things in the film.
It was, one of my favorite parts. Realizing when that first happened, I mean,
you're like, wow, this film's ending differently.
Well, very different. Well, I'm like, whoa, didn't they plan on more of these? But he's going to be stuck in this time loop forever. But
it was
how that turned.
It was so well introduced. Like,
how long do we think he did it just as long as like the film implies, or did that happen for a lot longer than we think? Like that could have happened technically for centuries.
I would say I am certain that happened a lot, like Groundhog Day. A lot.
Yeah, because we're shown maybe a dozen or so instances.
Yeah, like the very first one, he lands on the thing.
Otherwise, he's very impatient. If he's like, seriously, 14 times now? Okay, break it. I'm done. I can't handle this. This has been like 10 minutes of my life. I'm not getting back.
Not that I understand what minutes are, but
exactly. Time has no concept.
So
you think he was doing that for a very long time?
He travels to this realm to meet and negotiate with Dormammu in a realm that there is no time, and so he creates this time loop, and you don't know that that's what he's done to begin with, and he lands and he's like, I'm here to, he doesn't say negotiate, what does he say? Like,
it's something,
I'm here to something, let's just say negotiate, and then Dormammu just dematerializes him with a laser, and people that don't understand how these films work might be sitting there going, how's this film going to end? Something's not quite right here. There's no more Doctor Strange. And then he lands and does it again, and you get that thing where he's like, I'm here to deal, or whatever it is, and he's like, what illusion is this? He said, no illusion, this is real. And so you got that first thing of, oh, it was an illusion. And then it's like, no, okay. And then it happens again, and again, and again, and then it's explained.
And then he knows how to play the piano.
Yes. And then he was able to save the kid falling out of the tree. And all
exactly. You never thank me.
Yeah. I do kind of want to rewatch Scandal Day now.
It's fantastic. February 2nd coming up. All right. Watch it.
We may be definitely getting some of those member berries out, and depending on the results of next week. But for those of you that don't know, it is almost time for the election here in America, so we will be
moving on.
We'll be finding out what happens there. In fact, this will be out a couple of weeks after, so you guys will know before I will.
Congratulations. Hopefully to my candidate of choice, which I'm not getting into.
And personally, I welcome our new robot overlords.
Yes. Let me be the first. Welcome our new robot overlords. Alright. So anyway, I mean, should we go into the essential plot of the film at all? I mean, did you have any issues there following? Essentially, what this spell is stolen from Mads Caecilius Mikkelsen, and
the very very basic driving point of this is that a spell has been taken from the Ancient One tome that will allow this guy who's gone rogue to summon power from the dimension that the real bad guy is from, and he wants to basically take the Earth to that realm because when you're there, you live forever. There's no death. There's all this stuff.
I wrote down the plot as stolen spell, rule world, stop him.
I would argue the rule world because I don't believe he has any real.
Yeah, I mean, but you get the idea. That's the not necessarily in this case, but that's the generic.
The standard plot summary.
Yeah. Can we talk about that first part there? This one, could they kind of increase the library security, as in have library security? They have these books just in loosely bound chains. Not to mention a fucking Infinity Stone out in the open, not protected.
Well,
not even commented on. Did anyone ever comment on that? Doctor Strange just took the Infinity Stone and started wearing it as is.
No.
The Ancient One never brought it up. Mordo never brought it up. I'm like, he's just wearing the Infinity Stone.
Yeah, and
never brought up. I cannot believe that wasn't.
No, the only thing I can think of is the only time they see him wearing it is once the Ancient One has been stabbed. Maybe. Not sure.
No, they see him wearing it like in the library, and they see him. Yeah. Like,
I don't know. Well, they tell him not to wear it at that point.
Or takes it, But anyway, that's it. If you have a spell that can control time, maybe put that one in a safe. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Especially given how against him using any form of that they are, because it could unravel the nature of time and so on and so forth.
It's a very trusting library. Just I guess most are, but...
well...
They don't expect you to steal the books. You're going to bring it back in 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Or you owe us a nickel.
Yeah, I did love that they have Stephen Strange talking about what are the late fees? What is that?
Wong. The dead-faced Wong.
Yes. Did you feel that and again, obviously spoilers, did you feel that the laughter at the end was worth the wait?
No. I mean, I saw it coming, he's gonna break at some point.
Yeah, and I feel like it maybe the point was that it wasn't even the funniest joke, but it was just it's like a little sort of line they just said, and it's just, funny.
That's what that character. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't a huge payoff by any means for me, but I have somewhere I want to jump. But if you do first, also, as I alluded to earlier, we saw this in different formats.
Same cinema, different formats.
Yes. If you are a fan of the podcast, I saw this in 3D, and you know my feelings on 3D.
Yes.
They are not good. If you are new to the podcast.
Yes.
To put it lightly, generically, they are not good.
The fact that he mentioned to us that he was going to be seeing it in 3D was a shock to me when he said it because of his feelings.
I figured with the type of story this is, with the surrealism and the just the playing with reality, I thought this, if 3D was going to work, this would be a good chance for it. And not to say it hasn't worked in the past. Certainly Avatar and other films have done it very well.
Yeah, it has to be done correct.
But yes, but retrofitting it and for home viewing is bullshit, and I'm going to retread a couple. I'm not going to go into the full rant. Don't worry, Paul. You can see any other episode for that. Or listen to any other episode for the full rant.
I don't need to get the disclaimer.
I think it might be
on
Dread. I think Dread might be the full rant. Full rant, rather.
Well,
because I believe that one I saw in 3D, or we saw.
Wasn't it only released in 3D for a while?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Slow motion drug taking, yay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So if it doesn't fit the narrative, I don't understand why every fucking action movie has to have it. Like, it's really, really stupid. That being said, I thought this would be a good chance for it to shine.
Yes, there are definite moments in it, especially with like, the spells showing up on screen. I felt that if they focus on just kind of getting the depth of field right, then that could be good.
I will say the opening of the film, like the first 5 minutes or so, and then the closing credits were absolutely phenomenal in 3D. Brilliant. The rest of the film, much like most of 3D, just was kind of by the wayside.
Right.
You start to not notice it after a little bit. You notice a little more depth in characters. You get a little more spatial dimension. Right. You know, you recognize distances and stuff a little better. But to really showcase it, I mean, like in those Inception type moments with the buildings flipping inside them, it really didn't pop or do a whole lot for me.
Really? They didn't get the depth and stuff in there?
No. As always, the part of 3D that sadly surprises or amazes me the most are the trailer they show beforehand, because they really go up, and like the credits, they really spend time with those credit sequences. And yes, those looked, like I said, just utterly fantastic. The rest of the film is just meh. That being said, I would, if you have the opportunity, I'd still recommend seeing it in 3D over standard. I do think it helps more than it hurts.
Right.
I just wish it had helped more. I really wanted to see more of it. I don't know why there wasn't as much.
I'd be interested in, obviously, I don't have a setup at home to do this, but I'd be interested in seeing it like down the line in 3D and seeing if maybe I notice a couple of things or something that are a little different. But
there were moments through the film where I noticed things, but I was never wowed. I was never just like, oh my god, that's beautiful. Visually I recognize it was beautiful, but the 3D never really made a huge difference for me.
Right.
As far as most of the film went. Which, I mean, I'm not going to shit on it too much because, I'm still giving my recommendation for 3D here, which I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth.
I know.
I don't Paul can't,
I am a little surprised.
But yeah, like I said, it for a few extra dollars, go ahead and see it in 3D. If you don't give a shit, go ahead and see it standard. You're not going to be missing too much.
Right.
Just some couple cool sequences at the beginning and end of the movie, essentially. But moving on from that. In general, as these films go, I thought the effects were fantastic. And as I think we may have mentioned earlier, they should look fantastic at this point. If you're spending $165 million on a film,
yes,
in the MCU films, they should look this good, and they do.
Yeah, and the ones that dropped down, I think, were the second Marvel film had a little bit of lackluster stuff there, and I can't remember which the other one. It might have been one of the Iron Mans, was like just a little guy, but that one was a really early one. So since all of the standalones and all of those, they've been really. I think they've been really well timed out and working on it enough so that they're not rushing the final the final exporting of all of this stuff, because that a lot of the problems you run into with films these days is studios give you a timeline and they say, okay, this film is coming out on this date, and so I don't believe there's been a single film in a long time that has ever wrapped on the day it was due to wrap. I don't believe it's possible for everything to go right on every day of shooting.
No one can foresee all of the bumps in the road.
Yeah, with the exception of maybe like a Clerks type setup. There's no way you could do that. And so when it eventually gets to the graphics section, the editing bay and all that, you're left with less time to finish it, and the problem is when it comes to graphics and things like that, time is the one thing you cannot skimp on. So you either have to fully render a not finished or not perfected scene, or you have to perfect it and then not fully render it.
Yes, you have no Infinity Stone to rewind the clock.
Yes.
Try again.
So it is one of those things where you need to get it right, and I think Marvel have figured out the right amount of time for all of their films, because so far, with the exception of the opening of the Avengers, the graphics have been pretty up there.
And like as a comparison, just think about like how rushed the third act of Suicide Squad felt. Like all of it, it's just like, oh shit, we got $50 more million in our effects budget. Let's throw all these black bubbly guys in here. And
that's
you
where
get good use of effects and you get that.
That's where all of that went. And then they completely forgot to finish rendering those helicopters.
Exactly. Yes. Compare and contrast. Where do you want to go from here?
I honestly don't know. I don't have any other notes written down. So do you
I had just a couple more things real quickly. Then I think we should probably wrap up. But the humor in this, I thought, was all right.
Right.
I don't know. I know it's kind of becoming a staple of the Marvel films. I don't know if we needed it as much in this story. I felt like sometimes it was forced.
Well, and
it was kind of a serious story. Like this man's life is forever altered by not being able to do the only thing that he is truly brilliant at.
Yeah.
Maybe not the only thing, but the one thing that pays his lifestyle.
Yes.
For his lifestyle. And I think that lent it to be a little more serious story, and the humor was very Ant-Man humor, very, just... I didn't see that for that character. And if that's in the comics, then by all means, that's fine. But
that's what I was going to say, in that Marvel obviously know how to write pretty much the perfect blend of seriousness and humor and stuff like that. And where that comes from, at least I think that's how we feel they've been doing with these films. And on top of that, they're writing it the way that the comics are written. Like that, there are all of these humorous moments, even in like the thick of battle. For instance, Spider-Man in the comics and in the latest Captain America film does not shut up. So a lot of the humor comes from him giving quick little off and asides and things like that, and a lot of the humor in comics, especially the Marvel comics, come from people having genuine like odd little reactions and stuff like that. And I fully was behind it. I can understand why you would want less in at least some of this film, just because of the, as you say, the very serious subject matter. But that is how a lot of people end up dealing with that sort of thing. And I felt, again, like his character doesn't do well with dealing with things. And so I think once he started to not necessarily accept, but once he started to deal with it, I think, again, like most comic book characters, the way that he starts to heal is to kind of play with it a little bit, have those comedic moments in non-comedic settings. But I feel like I'm doing devil's advocate. I can definitely see your point, and I can see why people would think that. I personally did not have an issue with it. Okay. So
fair enough. And kind of to that counterpoint to that, just one last little silly thought here. Was there any part of you that when Strange first pops up, or they call them sanctuaries or sanctums?
He's looking for sanctuary, but I believe it is sanctum.
Sanctums,
I believe that is it.
Yeah. So when he first pops up at the London sanctum, Was there any part of you that was hoping for
I
some
wanted
dead...
Baker Street.
Could you let me fucking finish it?
Yeah, you know what I really wanted? I wanted to have him come out and bump into... Why the hell am I blanking? What the hell's the name? Come on,
Karma, bitch.
Yes, it is. Come on, what the hell's the landlady's name?
Nope, not gonna help you.
God damn it!
So yeah, anyway, I was gonna say when he first pops up, it would have been nice to have some Deadpool meta goodness for him to look and see the address as 221B Baker Street. But we know that already.
Yeah, I knew that would never happen. Like,
I knew it wouldn't, but how incredible would that have been? That been the best joke in the movie.
It would have been. or even just, like, Eddie comes out, you just hear the music for a second. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, what was it?
No.
Mrs. Why? Why?
Why? Alright, well sorry Paul, we're running out of time.
Yes, we are.
To be added in the liner notes. Or in the description.
Yeah, I know it's going to hit me the second I hit the stop button on this. But anyway, yes. So
rating, real quickly.
Well, obviously, I think you said that you're going to give a rating, but you're like.
I do understand. Yeah, it may not be accurate as either way, I really have to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to make this quick. No, you folks know. I'm not going to do my normal recap before rating because I gotta go. So anyway, yeah, I made my point across to everything. Kind of, if you listen to the episode, I didn't absolutely love this movie. It was one of the, I think, more average turnouts for Marvel. Above average.
Right.
But, I mean, yes, it's no DC film. That being said, I didn't absolutely love it. Maybe that's because I need to see it again. And just too much was thrown at us.
Yeah.
I'm kind of coming in at a -3, -3.5 on this right now.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was good, not great. I liked aspects of it. I liked parts, but not the collective whole.
Yeah, I can see that, especially with some of the stuff that you brought up. Yeah, I can definitely see that one.
Yeah, but I do think I would benefit from a second viewing.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back and rewatch this, especially since I missed the end credits scene. I saw the mid-credits, but not the end one. And so,
recap our rating system.
And for those of you that don't understand what it is that Brian just said, our rating system actually starts out at 0 is a perfect film, as in we found 0 faults with it whatsoever, and then because we are just weird, we take points away from 0, so we end up with what has been described as a very negative rating system, and it'll be little niggles, like if you watch our Lincoln review, that one was like -0.1 because there's only like one thing we actually had any problem with.
Don't listen to me, folks. He's lying about me. I didn't do that.
all the way down to Mordecai, and I'm just going to say go listen to that to find out what
Mordecai is the high or the low end of the rating system.
Yes,
this is officially known as Mordecai.
So. Yes, with that being said, I think I'm going to come in at, say, a -1.5 at this point.
This might be one of our bigger discrepancies.
I think so. I mean,
2 point. Yeah.
I really like what they did with the story, and I'm a big fan of some of the stuff they did in it. And yeah, a little annoying about the trivializing a couple of the characters, so that they did just feel like background actors. Sorry, Miss McAdams. We wish she could have been in it more. But yeah, so that's really about it. I just had like there's a couple of little niggles, and then I do think the characterization was where it fell down the most for me. I'm trying not to rehash it too much, because obviously you just listened to an hour of us talking about it. So, alright, well, I think that's it for me. You got anything else then?
Nope, I'm all set.
Alright then. Well, in that case, I've been Paul.
And I've been Brian.
See you, folks.